So, thank you for sitting with me
My
today.
pleasure.
Could you start by just telling me who you are and who you work for?
Sure. I am Betsy Winchester, LMSW, and I work for Chris 180, which used to be Chris Kids, and I work here in Atlanta.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
So, what year were they started?
They began in 1981 under a different name. They've changed names throughout the course of their life as a nonprofit. But yeah, so they've been around for quite some time.
They have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell me where they're located?
Yes, they're in East Atlanta. That's where the main office is. It's 1017 Fayetteville Road, Southeast, I think. But there are a number of different locations around the city. There's a counseling center in Gwinnett, and I'm part of a program that works out of one of the APS schools. And there are a number of schools in that program. So we're kind of spread out all over.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I like it. So, please tell me a little bit about the organization.
Sure. So Chris 180 has a lot of different arms. So there's an adoptions program that deals with kids in I believe it's 7 to 14, or it's a difficult age to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really trying to target that vulnerable population and help with the older kids getting adopted.
Tristan McGuire, please come to the main office. Tristan McGuire, please come to the main office. Thank you.
And like I said, there's a school-based program that involves a therapist and a community service individual placed at a particular school. And so we have contracts with different schools. There are group homes. We also have counseling centers where families can come for counseling to that site. I'm trying to think.
Awesome.
Yeah, there are a lot of different services that we offer.
Yes, when you said a lot of arms, you meant a lot of arms.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your professional background and your academic preparation?
Sure. My undergraduate degree kind of has nothing to do with this. Kind of. It came in handy. I majored in theater as an undergrad.
Oh.
So it becomes helpful in dealing with kids. But I went back to graduate school in 2015 for social work at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So that's where I completed the rest of my education and the more pointed education towards this field.
Gotcha. Social work.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Working on it.
So, how does Chris 180 utilize human service professionals?
That's a huge part of the employee base. Even in roles that are managerial,
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that a lot of those professionals have LPC or LCSW after their name. It's people who have who've gone through the work and have worked in direct care, as well as then kind of moving into management, which is helpful to me, I think, as someone working in the field, direct client service, to know that those managing me know what I'm doing and how that works, and maybe the challenges and the wonderful things about that work. And then, of course, human service professionals are employed in that direct care. So at the counseling center, all of the counselors are either fully licensed or are working towards their licensure, and the same with the school-based counselors.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
it's cool. There's so many people.
Yes. So, what population do you serve?
I guess I would say, generally speaking, Chris 180 targets vulnerable populations to try to help raise them up. So the LGBTQ community is definitely a population that we aim to help. I forgot to mention, there's a drop-in center for disadvantaged and homeless youth, and a lot of the clientele that comes through that center is LGBTQIA. And in addition to that, low income, minority populations. So it's really a nonprofit that's focused on helping those who might be at a macro disadvantage in some way. So yeah.
Interesting. So, what services are offered?
Well, let's see. I'll talk about through maybe my particular program since I know the most about that. So for a school-based program, we offer individual counseling, family counseling, and community support individual time. And so that person works mostly on skill building, and then as a counselor, I also do some of that work in individual sessions, but I'll also work on sort of unpacking the feelings and giving more non-directive play time to kind of let some of those themes emerge. Because a lot of times kids are more able to speak through play than they are through words, at least initially while they're getting comfortable with
That's
you.
Definitely interesting.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So cool. Yes. What else? We also, in the school-based program, we work directly with the teachers and the administration at the school, as well as the families, to help create kind of a network of support around the child. And as part of what we do too, if a kiddo's having a hard day, and we can actually, they're in our care, we can go help with an intervention at that time too, to help them de-escalate and kind of come back to themselves, and also learn those skills to de-escalate by themselves, hopefully next time.
Right. So, putting those skills to use in the moment.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
Absolutely love that. So how important is communication to the population that you serve?
Communication is so huge. I mean, just being able to communicate what my purpose is, what my interests are, who I am to them. Like, who are you? You're pulling me out of class? Like, what is it? So establishing that relationship early on, focusing on rapport building initially is really important. And I think too, just the importance of modeling what kind of behavior that we're wanting to see, both like conflict resolution, feelings expression, because some kids aren't very in touch with what feelings are and what they're feeling in a given moment. It can be confusing. So starting to put some words to that and helping them put words to their own feelings is really important. And then of course, communicating with the parents and the teachers so that we're all linked up and have a good idea of what's going on, and maybe what some of the triggers or challenges are that the child's encountering on a regular basis, so we can help smooth those over if we can.
I like that, with everybody being on the same page.
Yeah.
To help one child.
Yes.
That's great.
That's the ideal.
Yes.
That's what we're working on.
Love it. So, how are people referred to your part of the agency?
So the school-based program referral process is that each school has a point person, and that's determined. I'm not part of that determination process. The school-based program manager or program director and the principal identify who that person is. At my school, it's the school professional counselor, and so she will identify or collect referrals from teachers. Teachers can also refer kids that they think might benefit from services. Or if she's seeing kids over and over and identifies that they might need help, there's just a brief 2-page form to fill out with a parent they have to agree first to be contacted by CLIS 180. So I can't just reach out to any parent without permission from them. And then at that point, I reach out to the parent to attempt to schedule the assessment, which is the first step in getting them into care. So, yeah.
So, having someone embedded in the school that knows the students.
Yes.
And what they need so that they can get them to you.
Yes.
That's great.
And also educating them on what an appropriate referral is, because sometimes if a child acts up once or twice, that might be a referral, but it might not be an appropriate referral, which we would determine during the assessment as well. But not every kid who acts out is necessarily appropriate for counseling services, if that makes sense. We have to have a diagnosis of some kind to be able to serve them.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're still rolling.
Oh yeah.
what does a typical day look like for a client with you?
Well, a typical day, they would go to class, and I try not to pull them from the same class every week because their academics are also important, so I'll alternate that time. I'll go to their classroom, ask the teacher if it's an okay time to take them, because sometimes they're testing, especially this time of year, testing is rampant, which makes it hard for us to see kids as much as we'd like.
Right.
And if that's an okay time, then I'll take the kiddo for about an hour. And initially we'll start, because ritual and routine is so important for kids and establishing that right away, we'll start each session by checking in with a feeling word, how you're feeling. But sometimes, like I said, because kids don't have access to the language around feelings, we'll start with what it looks like. So I have some little check-in faces, and then a child will point to which face they feel is like what they're feeling at that moment, and then we'll explore what words might go with that face or faces. Then I have it structured in an if-then format. If we do the activity that I've brought for us to do, then you get to choose an activity for us to do for the second part of the session. So we do a more directive approach at the beginning, and it's usually something related to CBT or TFCBT or play therapy techniques. I'm not a play therapist, but I can use play therapy techniques, expressive arts techniques. I'm trying to think what else. I haven't used DBT with kids yet, but I've used it with adults, and I really like that modality, so I'm waiting for the right opportunity to use that. And then for the second half, it's a child-centered play therapy structure usually, so they're guiding it, and so they get a shared sense of control and choice in that session.
Yeah, that's cool, because a lot of kids don't really get choices.
Right?
They're just
Every moment of their day
told.
is planned
Yes.
for them. Yeah.
go this way, go that way, get up, go to bed, take a shower.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So, what are some of the interviewing skills that you use in your work?
One of my favorite styles is motivational interviewing. I loved that approach, and I previously worked in a substance abuse treatment center, and it was very applicable there because it's focused on change, inspiring change, and eliciting change talk from your client. So it's based on the research that says we're less likely to take advice from someone else than we are from ourselves. So if we say it, if we come to this understanding, if it comes out of our mouth, we're more likely to do something about it. So I do use that with kids sometimes, especially related to fighting and conflict. We'll break it down, and I'll ask open-ended questions about, well, how did that feel when that happened, and what would you like to happen instead? How do you think that you might be able to get a different outcome? So I guess I use Socratic questioning as well, and motivational interviewing. I think it's really important because kind of like what you said, I'm not sure how many open-ended questions kids get on a daily basis. It's a lot of yes, no. So it's a helpful way to engage the kids, I think.
I like that.
Yeah.
Open-ended questions. We
Yeah.
learned about that a lot in
Yes.
class.
Yes.
And we also learned about the wheel of change, like being outside the wheels, like
Yes.
pre-contemplation
Yes.
and contemplation. And
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's motivational interviewing ties in a lot with that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I like the wheel of change.
Yeah.
I'm just like, ooh, I want to be on it. I want to have a problem so I can get on it. So what type of trainings, if any, do you provide to professionals within the community?
I think that's a large part of how other professionals know about our organization. A lot. We provide a lot of different types. Everything from CPR to more, we do a lot of trauma-focused training. So Chris 180 is very, very big on providing trauma education to other professionals and other actually other helpers, other people in the helping fields, we actually do an ARC, we do a trauma training here with teachers once a month as well, and so we try to disseminate it here in the classroom, but then there's also a training specific program at the main counseling center.
Okay.
And so professionals can sign up for courses that either give them CEs or it's non-CE courses. Yeah.
So you're kind of like working in getting your certification
Yes.
points.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
So you have to have so many each year. In Georgia, I think it's 30 something total every 2 years. Yeah, and some of them can be online, but Chris 180 is great because they offer reasonable courses that you can do in person. So you need a lot of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are the attributes of being a good helper, and how are they used here?
Patience. Huge patience. I think honoring, it's just as much as possible honoring a right to self-determination. So not coming to situations going, this is how it should be or this is how it's got to be. Being willing to support someone else in getting to their desired end or outcome. What else? I think being personable, because you spend a lot of time with people.
Yes.
And on that note as well, being able to recognize in yourself when you're overextended. That's such a huge one I'm finding. I've only had this is my second year in this field. I worked in a different field before this, but that was a big transition from school to the real world. It's like, oh, gotta take care of myself, and all that talk about self-care, which they do in school, that stuff's real. Yeah. Being able to turn it off or have good boundaries about what you take home or talk about at home. Certainly no confidential information, but even just like your own experience and just going over and over the difficulties, I found was like, oh, I need to give myself a break from one day to the next from some pretty hard content when you're dealing with some tough cases like kids who have been abused or who just have really intense behavioral issues. So I think just having some zen, calm time is really important.
A little time just woosah.
Woosah.
Got
That's
it.
right.
So, how are the services funded?
We have, I don't know a huge amount of this, but generally speaking, we do accept donations from individuals or from corporations or other organizations around the area, and or even national. If someone wanted to send us money from Alaska, I'm sure we would take it. But we also are funded by a number of different types of grants. The school-based program has a SAMHSA grant in place. There's an APEX grant, and I think there's an ARC grant maybe as well. So as part of that process, there are certain things that we need to do to implement that organization's goals within the schools or within the setting, whatever that is. And then we do also accept insurance. We don't accept private insurance, but we take Medicaid and we take state insurance. But if we have a child who doesn't have insurance or who has private, the APEX grant that we have actually allows us to serve that child as well. So even if someone's uninsured, we can help.
So essentially, the family or clients don't pay anything. It's paid through grants and insurance.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Because not everybody can afford to
Yeah,
get seen or have services.
exactly.
That's amazing.
Especially, in low-income populations, like this would not be the number one priority, right?
Right.
It's like getting these basic needs met first. So to be able to have this sort of taken care of is so great.
Yeah. I like that. Let's see. So what is the best advice that anyone has shared with you as a human service professional?
I think I already kind of said it. I think it's the self-care piece.
Mm.
Because, and also recognizing that we can be a part of change or a part of someone's journey to recovery, but it's not our sole responsibility to take them there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I think it's all on me to get you well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go crazy.
Right.
It's gonna be really hard for me to keep that work up for a long time. So it's about showing up and doing everything we can,
Mhm.
but then at the end of the day, kind of giving myself a break. That sometimes people aren't ready, and you plant a seed, or they make it partway to their goals, but not all the way. Something else happens. So yeah, I think taking care of yourself, and part of that being give yourself a break.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So kind of having it be like a mutual understanding or agreement between the helper and the helpee.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
So, what advice would you share with me to someone just starting out?
Well, you've been in this field for a while, so I want some of your advice too. But in terms of moving into an even more clinical area,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, keep doing what you're doing because you're great at what you do.
Thank
You're welcome. But I guess I would say just to celebrate the victories along the way, because we often keep seeing the things that we want to do better or
Mhm.
that haven't yet worked out. But I think acknowledging even small wins can also prolong our work in this field.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yes, celebrate this. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to write that on
Celebrate the
something.
successes. Yeah.
Yes, I like
We're
that.
going to count that as a win.
Yes,
Yeah.
I like that.
Uh-huh.
I like that a lot. So let's see. So if you could change anything about your job, what might it be and why?
One of the hard things I find is parent engagement.
Mhm.
That's been a really tough thing for me to kind of just keep working hard at and accept that sometimes I'm not a parent's first priority.
Mhm.
But being willing to just keep reaching out, because sometimes there's just so many different stressors going on that it's hard to get back to me. So that's been the one of the toughest things. I wish that all of and I've heard this kind of from teachers too, that sometimes working with parents is harder than working with the kids because it's harder to get them engaged.
Mhm.
That has been the case for me to some degree.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And working in the school, we have to be really flexible. So part of me yearns for the counseling center setting where I'm able to set an appointment and say, okay, see you next week at 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
Can't really do that in this job.
Lots of flexibility involved.
Yes.
Gotcha. So how do you maintain your passion for work?
Trainings actually help that. I find that I get like pumped up whenever I go and I'm among other professionals in the field, honing their craft in a way, or learning about something new. Like I'm not sure if I'm going to get to go to this one, but there's a sand tray training that I think is I love that modality, and I've seen it work with some kids really well, like being able to physicalize feelings. So when there are those little breakthroughs like that, I'm like, oh, wow, that would be great for this kid, or oh, that would be really fantastic.
Start to connect them.
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
What else? I think having a balanced work-life balance, having a balance with my home life and my work life also helps me maintain passion for what I'm doing, because if it feels overextended, then I start to feel overextended myself and maybe somewhat resentful.
Gotcha.
So, and what else? There are other things, but I can't think of anything else right now.
That's fine. So there was a question that I wanted to ask. Have you ever experienced burnout, and what did it feel and look like?
I feel like I haven't been in the field long enough to say that I have, but I kind of feel like I have. Like, maybe I started to in the last job that I had. It's, for me, it showed up as not looking forward to going to work in the morning, but also feeling like I gotta show up. I gotta get there. I gotta do it for them. I have to be there. But then feeling like I was slogging through the day, not feeling energized with what I was doing, and having less empathy. I think that was the big key. Just like, I got nothing else to give you. I don't know. I can't feel anymore with you. So that was the best signal that I needed some rebalancing and to take care of myself a little bit better.
Well, it's great that you haven't experienced any burnout in this field.
Yes.
Because I know in this field, burnout is so common.
Yeah.
And it can
Well,
happen so fast.
That was in this field, just in my last position at the Substance Abuse Treatment Center.
Gotcha.
So it was still in the human services field for sure. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I think too, in that area, it was repetitive. Like, a lot of the content that I'm working with and teaching, or, that started to feel kind of dull. So I need to revamp some things too.
Yeah, I definitely hate going to the same place every day, doing the same thing, and then leaving. It just makes it
Yes.
less meaningful.
the life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you're a robot, just
So that is one good thing
going through the
actually
motions.
about this specific
I need
position.
Demia Favors to report to the car riders loop. Demia Favors, please report to the car riders loop.
It doesn't get boring. There's always something going on. Yeah.
So, just one more thing that I wanted to ask. What would you say is your favorite part of the day?
Alana Shaw, you need at the bus loop. Alana Shaw, please report to the bus loop.
The kids. I love working with the kids, and there are always these wonderful, unexpected moments of, like, I sometimes feel like I'm learning from them as well. Definitely what they like, what they don't like, what they need, and creativity. Seeing kids use their creativity to solve problems, but also just to express themselves. And when kids make you laugh, like, that is life-giving. So I do feel like there are elements of this work that are really rejuvenating. So, yeah.
That's
The
great.
kiddos.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me.
You're welcome.
I
Thank you.
definitely
I need the
enjoyed it.
Benson siblings, please report to the bus loop. The Benson siblings, please report to the bus
You
loop.
too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.